For the next pose I'm going to draw, I'm going to draw someone in a very active pose. So depending on what you're painting, who you're drawing, where they're at, etc., they may not just be standing still in a very straight line. They may be kind of doing something, reaching over. In this case, she's stretching, so they might be having more of an active pose going on. So we're going to talk about how to block this in. So I'm still going to do gesture first. So we're going to start with the C curve. From her head down to this knee. Sometimes I feel like people do an S curve because they want to include this back foot, but I always want to think about gesture like head to ground, and in this case this is the ground here, or you could do a big C curve like this going into the other ground of this foot. So either one would be okay. You can kind of do a calmer one, or you can do like a really pushed one. Usually in gesture you want to push the pose, so you can go to this front foot if you want, whichever one feels more natural for you. So that would be my action line. Let's see. Oh, so I went to the knee for that one as well. And then for this one, I'm gonna put in my 3 major masses and my tilts. So, oh, I didn't do it on here. That's okay. The tilt for this would be going more up for her shoulders here, and then following that box going this way for her hips, like that. And then for her 3 major masses, I'm gonna go back in. Her arm is really blocking the head and the shoulder connection right here, so I can't see the end of the chin. So just kind of visualize what it would look like. I know sometimes that can be hard, but do your best. The more you visualize and the more you practice, the better you're gonna get at it. Having that ear there is super helpful because that tells me how much of the head I can see. That jawline is where that halfway mark of the ear is. So that's really good to know. I can put in the egg shape of her rib cage. It's always a little hard and more awkward to draw the 3 major masses when they're not just standing up like, you know, completely straight like how we just drew it. It's always hard to kind of visualize them turning in space, so just take your time blocking in this rib cage. Thinking about how the neck attaches on to the rib cage, how the rib cage is biggest right at like the center and like a little bit lower, like it's the roundest part right there. I'm gonna draw that pelvis now. I think I have to move up a little bit. I can see the side, the back, and the bottom. Like this. And then I can draw into this foot that has weight on it, so I'm gonna put in that knee now. Going into that back foot, and then this one really connecting all the way up to the front, and that knee, I think her bun would be about there, so then the leg would be here. So that would be the action line, sorry, that would be the gesture drawing. And then the last thing we're going to do is that bean shape. So I can see that this is like a big stretch going on her back, and this is a really big pinch going on the inside. Right where her tummy is. We can't really see it because the leg's in the way, but we can see it a little bit right here. From here, I'm going to talk about the envelope shape. So this one has a super curved envelope shape, right? It doesn't feel that human, right? It's just like a big half circle almost. So we're going to block that half circle in now. So going from the base of the pelvis all the way to like where I think that foot's gonna go, here to here, almost straight all the way across, right? So like to this ankle, it's all the way straight, but the hand comes out a little further. right in line with like the neck, or sorry, the jaw. So I can think about how this hand's gonna drop down and interact with that shape, and then go up to the foot, and then the foot to the bun to the shoulder. So that would be my envelope shape. And then the next thing I'm gonna do is the negative space or negative shape. Oh, I already did this. Oh, before we do that, I'm going to actually talk about some measurements. So she's not standing up, so I can't use that 6 to 7 heads tall method. But what I can do is I'm just gonna find the halfway mark of where she's at. I could also find how many heads long she is this way and how many heads tall she is this way. But I'm gonna first kind of figure out where's the halfway mark, make sure that's lining up, and then I'm gonna go back and do heads. So I've already done it on the iPad. So halfway is right at the end of her ribs. So in other words, right here, there should be equal shapes on both sides, equal lengths on both sides. So I'm gonna take my pencil and find where the end of it is here, and here, and that has to go to there. So that's halfway for mine. And then halfway for her, which mine looks maybe a little too tall, from the curve of her back down to like her nose. So her nose is out a little further, so I can think about curve with her back to like the end of her face, her nose, 1, 2. So mine looks a little too tall. So when you have to edit something like this, you just have to move everything up. I like to move everything up first and then erase the lines that are incorrect. If I erase the lines that are incorrect right away, sometimes I kind of lose the kind of like the thoughts I had. So I want to keep those thoughts, do my changes first, and then I'll go back and erase the lines I don't need. And then lastly, we're going to do negative shape. I think negative shape is super helpful. If I take away everything, including the picture, you can tell someone is still leaning over just only by these shapes, right? Can't tell exactly where they're at. You know, like I don't really know what's going on right here, but like I know that these are legs and this is like the curve of someone's back and the head's back here. So negative shape is super helpful. We love negative shape, so I'm going to put those in. Starting at the top of her bun here, her face, her arm was the shape that I couldn't really tell visually what was going on. This is where her foot's gonna go, to here. Her stomach needs to go down a little bit more. I think her back needs to be straighter too. I don't think her back is as arched as I have it. Draw her chest. Her shoulders starting up higher and then going down to her neck and then going up to her hair. On her backside, her legs starting right at like the base of that pelvis. So this is a really good way of being able to draw a figure without knowing that much anatomy. Like we know head, ribcage, pelvis, but that's about it. And negative space is really good because it doesn't really require that much anatomy, just a lot of like really good visual judgment. Her hand, make sure her hand lines up with this arm right here. So that would be kind of my figure. I'm going to shade in the negative space. after this, I would jump straight into contour. I would start putting the tank top in, putting her ear in, the bun, the eyebrow, like separating out the arm from the leg here, but this would just be the gesture drawing, and then envelope and negative space to get to the blocking.